All right, I think I'm live. Thank you very much for being here. There's some amazing speakers today. This is an amazing topic because I'm someone who never thought I would be taking a leap of faith. I was more of the direct, one-line kind of guy. I'm going to tell you today about how cannabis, when I found it, it nearly destroyed my life. Then it became the center of my life. And then I was able to use cannabis and the prosperity of the industry to help other people and help other communities kind of overcome some of the same things. So I'll start off kind of similar to other people, right? I spent a good bit of time when I was young traveling. I lived in 7 different cities before I turned 18. A lot of people think I was a corporate brat. My parents definitely weren't gypsies. I was on the East Coast. There weren't very many gypsies down in the South. It wasn't really progressive place to live. But no, I was actually a corporate brat. My dad, before I was born, was released from prison as a part of a target of the war on drugs. He was in prison for 7 years as a part of that. So he came out of prison, he got a job as a janitor, re-enrolled into school and kind of started his climb up the corporate ladder. So if you could imagine, he ended up as a janitor, and his last position before he retired was as a vice president. So that took a lot of moving. Every single time there was a promotion, every time there was a strategic lateral move, we took it, and we were house hunting. And that was fun for me, because I was young, I liked finding new places, and the last place we moved was Lakeland, Florida, and that's where I started high school. And everyone knows that high school is really a transitional period for a lot of people, right? I had girls, they were interested for the first time, I didn't know what the hell was happening. I had, parties, of course, drinking. And for me, the big thing was weed. I found weed, right? The first puff I took, I remember it was just, what a feeling, right? What an experience. How amazing was this? What an ass whooping I took when I got home. And my mother, saw my eyes were red and smelled smoke. And my mom, she was amazing, right? She had the eyes of an eagle when it came to assessing whether or not my eyes were clear or whether they were red. I'm telling you, it's like, anybody ever seen Seinfeld? Where George is spotting dimes and everything, right? My mom could do that. Any other time, she can't see anything. But she could see when my eyes were red from across the room, and she can smell cannabis somehow. So the eyes of an eagle, the nose of a bloodhound, and my dad, once he got the he's high signal, right? I don't know what kind of signal it must have been like. He's high, look at him. I didn't know where he's, all of a sudden he comes in the room and he already knows I'm high. He must have gave him a ring, a text or something. And he comes in and the look on his eyes was like, a leopard when he's about to pounce on his prey. Or when he caught me, it was closer to like a falcon, right? When he grabs his prey and I'm not getting away, right? So those days were pretty tough. At least when I got caught, except there were days when I didn't get caught. In those days, it was amazing. I mean, cannabis, to me, it was fun. I had a lot of productive days. Something that really stuck with me is that I was a horrible math student before I found cannabis. I think maybe I had some type of ADHD. I couldn't just sit down and focus on that problem for long enough to complete it or to care. So when I actually started smoking cannabis, I started to like math. Instead of going out to those parties or whatnot, I was kind of hyped about going out, smoking my joint, sneaking back in so I didn't get my ass beat again, and doing that math problem or doing my homework. My senior year, I had some of the best grades I've ever had in my life. And my dad, he was always wigging out about cannabis, even though I would smell it on him sometimes because I knew the smell. was always wigging out about it, but he saw those grades started to improve and I stopped getting in trouble, and he was like, "Oh, and this is kind of the opposite of what I thought." So he started easing up a little bit. Maybe he was wrong, right, about cannabis. Of course, he was wrong about my motivation. It improved. He was wrong about the fact that it was going to make me stupid. I think maybe it was the opposite. But was he wrong about the potential of it ruining my life and the legal troubles that I could possibly get into? I think we soon find out, because right after my senior year, it was time for me to go to college and have more independence. And when I got to college, I thrived academically. I thrived socially. I became an engineering student. I loved math and was thriving at that. But legal troubles really hit me really hard. I was arrested multiple times while I was in college for those 4 or 5 years, actually 5 years. It was pretty tough. The first arrest, it wasn't that bad, right? I spent the night in jail, had to pay some fines. My parents paid them, right? So it wasn't really on me that negatively. The second time I was arrested, started thinking a little bit more like, damn, this is like 2 charges on my record. I may have some issues with this. The third time I was arrested, I got a note from the dean's office. They said, your scholarship has been revoked. You essentially have to find another way to pay for college. So I had to drop out of school that semester, get a job, and get back into school. So that's when things really started to weigh on me really heavily, and I was done with taking any chances. I still consumed, but I would never go out to parties and consume. I would never be in the car. I was just really, really focused on making sure that this did not hurt me. It didn't stop, though. Those repercussions definitely didn't stop. I was with from the engineering world, the best company, right, or the elite company is General Electric. Everyone thrives to be, or really wants to be with General Electric whenever they're an engineer. I had been with them since I was a sophomore doing internships. Before my last year in college, so about a year before I graduated, they offered me an amazing position. It was the Operations Management Leadership Development Program. I remember it. I was thinking about it all the time. I was Googling it, looking at what the next path was. It was all in my mind. I was a company man all the way. But when they offered it to me, of course, I thought, okay, I don't have to have a background check, which is good because I've been with the company since before I got arrested. So that's perfect. Whew, perfect. I'm so happy about that. Second is I probably have to take a drug test, right? Fine, who cares? I've taken drug tests before. I stopped smoking for a month. Maybe I'll stop smoking for 2 just to be safe. And I did that, right? So I'm walking back into the engineering school, my last year, my chest is, all out. The same people that I was competing with on grades, right? Everyone now was competing with who would get the best position, who would get the best job in engineering, right? And I knew that I had the best job, right? So I wasn't, I just was so proud of myself and I just had my head so high. I get home one day, I'm waiting to fill out my paperwork for the job. I get home and the HR director calls me. She says, okay, Jesse, we're gonna have you go to the wind turbine plant. I'm like, great, I'm gonna be building wind turbines. That's amazing. This is the only facility in GE that requires a different type of drug test. I'm like, okay, that sounds interesting. Started sweating a little bit. This is gonna be a hair test. Oh crap, so I go and I Google it, right? Hair test, how long does it take? So I realize it's probably like 5 to 6 months that it takes for cannabis to get out of your system with the hair test. And I stopped smoking for 2, and I'm thinking about 5, and I don't know how I'm going to make that work. So I start, I'm thinking all night, right? I'm putting my engineering brain to work. How do I solve this problem? Google shampoo, that's not gonna work. So I need more time, right? I need more time. So I tell the HR director, I'm like, Miss HR Director, I don't have any hair. And this was before I actually didn't have any hair. I said, I don't have any hair because I'm a male model. And I literally said this. And I had a nude photo shoot yesterday, and I had to shave all my hair. Because I didn't know if they were going to try to take hair from other places. So I'm like, I need to make sure I'm safe. So I'm sure they were wondering like who the hell they were hiring. So she's like, okay, Jesse, we'll give you an extra month. So I'm like, okay, I got my 2 months. I need to get to 5. I'm screwed, right? So after I fail that test, I'm sitting in my room after I get the call, and this was the first time I've ever really felt depression. I really thought that my parents were right. Cannabis was going to ruin my life. It was going to stop me from being who I wanted to be. When you think about it, who else was going to hire me with 3 cannabis charges on my record, right? I looked like an addict. I looked like a fiend, right, to a lot of companies. Luckily, a company called Siemens, which is GE's direct competitor, decided to take a chance on me. It was a leadership program as well, so I was excited. I was back in the game. I absolutely thrived at corporate America. When somebody doubts me, or somebody I know, like a lot of entrepreneurs in this room, if somebody shows you some doubt, that's probably some extra motivation that you couldn't have mustered yourself, right? You want to prove them wrong. I wanted to prove corporate America wrong, that people who smoke cannabis can be amazing employees. We can do better than everyone else. So I went in there. I was working all the time. I was looking for the best projects, and I thrived. But something wasn't right. I had a hard time waking up every day, right? And I just knew that life couldn't be like that. This amazing thing we call life, if I'm waking up every day thinking I'm not really excited about it, I'm wasting this life that I have. So I was thinking about that a lot. No matter if I was waking up to receive a new award or I was waking up for a new high-profile position, I still was very worried. I still was very concerned. So I ended up reading an amazing book called The Alchemist. And this was before I was selected for a very high-profile position in Munich, Germany. I was selected one of 50 people for 2 positions in Munich, Germany, to be with the head of corporate strategy, right? So I get over there and I'm having a great time, but I started reading this book. Who here has read The Alchemist? Right? Yeah, I talk about this all the time. I feel like such a herb when I talk about it because it's such a popular book, but it meant so much to me about, the universe conspiring, right? About going for what you wanted. And at the same time, I started praying every day, right? About one specific prayer, Dear God, and I wasn't religious at the time, but I believed in a higher power. I said, Dear God, please let me find something that I'm passionate about. Let me find something that I can pour all of my gifts and my talents into and maximize my potential on earth. Maximize what you've given me. And I understand that maximizing my potential isn't just what I can do for myself, but also about what I can do for other people. And I just said that over and over again, every night. And little did I know the universe was conspiring in my favor. So when I finally decided to go back to the U.S., they had 2 jobs. One was the most corporate position that I could ever have. It would send me right down the lane of CEO. It was the corporate audit staff. And a year ago, I would have loved that position. Us leadership development guys, that was our goal, right? And they offered me that position. I would have been the youngest person there. And then they offered me a position that was furthest away from corporate America that I could imagine. And that was a sales engineer. So I make my own schedule. I have my company car. I can make as much money. And this job was in Portland, Oregon. And I had watched Portlandia before. And I knew that Portland, Oregon was not corporate. Any corporate thing that I'd been into, it wasn't New York, it wasn't Atlanta, this was a different place. So I said, sign me up. So I get to Portland, Oregon. I learned 3 things. One, I absolutely loved the city. It reminded me so much of Germany, the mountains, the rivers, the nature. Absolutely fell in love with it. I'm like, I'm done moving. I think this is the place I'm gonna be. Second, I absolutely hated my job. This was a job that I thought had to be the best job because I hated corporate and it was there and it was perfectly aligned and I could make as much money. I hated it with a passion. Third, I knew that I was having fun and I was enjoying growing medical cannabis in my garage for some patients that had cancer and had knee issues. So I loved that. And I decided that if this perfect position wasn't it, it was time for me to take a leap of faith. So I knew from The Alchemist, you take a leap of faith, you got to take that step. You got to dive into it, right, with all passion and sincerity. So I called my boss, and I said, I quit. And I hung up. A little longer than that, right, because I'd only been there for a year, so I had to come up with some excuses. I called my mom. I said, Mom, I quit. She hung up on me. I called her back. She didn't answer. So I called my dad, and I said, Dad, I quit. So he was a little bit worried. I called my brother and my cousin. I said, come out to Portland, Oregon, and let's start this company. So we started Panacea Valley Gardens, which is a cultivation facility that we built nearly by hand. A lot of that engineering skill that I brought in, we programmed our own PLC for environmental control. I did a lot of energy efficiency stuff there. So that was excellent. We started Panacea, which was a dispensary with a few partners, and that was amazing. But I really figured that I found my passion. I was happy finally. I was sinking everything I had. That prayer was finally coming to life, but I did not have the other piece, which was how can I use this to give back? How can I use this to make sure that I'm giving back to my purpose on this earth and not just maximizing my own potential? So we started all these conferences that I'd gone to, and I kind of immersed myself in the industry. I started reaching out to some of these people who cared about an issue of people of color and opening up an opportunity for people who have been traditionally targeted through cannabis prohibition and the war on drugs to have more of a place in the cannabis industry, ownership, jobs, tax appropriation, whatever it may be. MCBA starts about a year and a half ago, and I'm getting close to the end here. I know I'm running out of time. Since then, we've had 500 members in 35 different states focused on making sure that they can become a part of the cannabis industry. We've been able to expunge 40 nonviolent cannabis crimes through working with companies like Marley Natural, Bob Marley's namesake company. We've been able to work with cities like Portland, Oregon, which is the first city, the first municipality to open up some of its cannabis tax to assist these traditionally targeted communities. Look at ACLU studies and see how these communities have been targeted and been really swept up into this war on drugs and mass incarceration. So that was an amazing opportunity, and that's thriving, and that's finally completing my prayer. But I have one more leap of faith. Saints Cannabis, as they mentioned, something that the cannabis industry has never seen, Portland, Oregon has never seen. Our opportunity to put all of these licenses in one flagship property to provide a level of connection, provide a level of comfort, and also provide a level of character that really displays what Oregon craft cannabis culture and Oregon craft culture is in general. A lot of times people ask me, why don't we do something a little more simple? Why don't we just expand our cultivation facility? Why don't we just find another dispensary? And I always go back to two quotes from The Alchemist. Because we want it. And The Alchemist says that when you want something, the whole universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. It doesn't achieve it for you, but it helps you to achieve it. And that is absolutely what has happened in my life. Or the last quote is, it's our dream. And it's the possibility of a dream coming true that makes life interesting. Thank you very much.